Hi, you're listening to Mindset, spelled with AI, a bi-weekly tech podcast that is shaping what you know and think about AI. My name is David. I'm a tech journalist and entrepreneur. And here with me is, as always, Philip, and we're back in the studio. Hi, Philip.
Yes, good to see you in person. Great.
So Philip, new browser wars seem to be going on, and we will be talking about that today. And I'll just say in the beginning that people can follow us as a podcast on YouTube. Our website is mindsetpodcast.com. That's mindset spelled with AI. And also, I think you're keeping up a company page on LinkedIn, right?
Yes, that's true. And also on our webpage, you can vote for the topics, which we should cover. So if you do have an idea, don't hesitate to send it around or address us at ideas@mindsetpodcast.com.
So the first time I pitched this topic,
Yep.
You were not happy with it.
Yes, it was too early.
It wasn't. It was like a couple months back. Okay, so we had the very early beta prototypes, maybe not even ones that you had to pay for.
Yes.
Nowadays we have products you have to pay for. Still, there are products that are in beta. We will get to that. But in a sense, right? Like I was thinking about this question, how is an AI browser different than a basic browser?
Yes, I will maybe surprise you with saying that I don't think it's the right name for the product, actually. Because if you really put on a table the distinctions between the traditional web browsers, it's so far away that I'm not even sure if it should be called browser or if it should be kind of in the same corner of the topic as a web browser. So let's talk about the differences first. So in a traditional browser, you would type in, you would have to have an idea where you go. So you would need to point the browser where you want to go. Maybe if you don't have idea, you would use search, but you would need to tell search quite precisely what you're looking for. And then you would get links, and basically all the navigation would be through the pages. So it is really a browser of the web. Now in AI web browsers or AI browsers, you don't really follow pages. You put in, of course, you theoretically can, but in some even you can't. And maybe we're going to come to that when it comes to features of the individual products. But very often you can't. And what the browser really does for you is does not provide you the individual pieces of the information, but very often the synthesis or like a summary of the information. So I'm not even sure if it's browsing because you're not expected to browse through the web pages per se. You're more like researching, consuming, trying to digest the information, maybe learn something. So it's more kind of a content aggregator rather than a browser for myself. I don't know, you use it yourself. So would you agree, or do you really use AI browsers as web browsers?
Okay, I'll get back to you on that. But let me just continue with your idea, because I had the similar notion when it comes to like, is this actually a browser or is it more similar to a social media app that is basically a feed which the browser, like a simple browser, lives in, and it does just like do like, oh, okay, just like show me this link and then go away, and I'm doing my feed. And the AI browser is kind of like, I almost feel like I'm in Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and I feed it the URL, but instead of me going to a browser, fetching the URL, I can directly find the URL on the website. And it does, as you said, these like this agentic stuff, right? Like I would say that's the promise, right? That's the promise of the AI web browser or AI browser, is that it is like a agentic mode where it lives on the web and can do the stuff that you would normally do in the chatbot, AI chatbot, but it's all integrated. And because there is this web browser layer, it adds on features you would not otherwise be able to do in this, UI, which is the normal chatbot. And so to answer your question, yes, I've been exploring and experimenting. So firsthand, I have firsthand experience and I have thoughts. And I have also been watching a lot of videos where different people were comparing different browsers. And I have many thoughts.
Cool. So let's get to it. But maybe before we come to that, one more thing which I want to register with you when we come to differences of the web browser and AI browser is that I think that you can't really do, at the moment, maybe that will change, but you can't do anything outside of the web with a web browser, right? You need to have a web page which you aim to go. You can have a local page to look at if you really want to, but generally it needs to be an HTML or kind of a thing to go.
Actually, no. Actually, there is just the agent that lives. So
that's what I'm saying, the old one.
Oh, the old one. Oh, okay.
The old one. In the new one, and this is what I was trying to come to, is that it can interact even with elements and software and PCs and APIs, which are beyond the HTML, right? So I think that it'll certainly come a moment where your AI browser will be not actually going to a particular web page, but it will be talking to an MCP server or an agent or a web page transferred into something which is not web page, which wouldn't be readable by the browser itself. So this is like a last moment why I think the browser is kind of the best name we had for it, but it's probably not fitting the purpose of it. And now back to your experience. So if you were using this, my understanding of a web browser, it is the primary reason or like a primary goal was to be universal, to be able to display any page you can think of and to basically be agnostic of the version of the page and everything. So like you go and you should be able to see whatever content is there out on the web. Is using AI browser similar in a way that you are not limited to what kind of sources it can read from and learn from? Is it really standing the universal mission of the original web browser?
Yeah, I would say yes. I've tried many pages. Also went to some shop pages, also my email, etc. So document pages as well, and it basically worked everywhere because it kind of reads the content of the website. It even got as far. So, for example, I wanted it to browse through the business section of a bookshop, online bookshop, and find particular books, and it did. Not bad. It wasn't great, but it would take me much more time to find at least what the browser found. At the same time, there are differences between the AI browsers and how far or which way they decided to go, right? So, for example, the two, I would say, the biggest ones that are out there at the moment, as of taping this, and we should probably put it out very soon because others are coming in, is on the one hand Comet browser from Perplexity, and on the other hand Dia browser from the browser company.
Yep.
And Comet you can only get if you are a max subscriber to Perplexity, which is
$200.
$200 a month. Dia you can only get as a beta if you were the user of their previous software, which they sunset. And at the moment there is like a wait list. I was fortunate to be on the first like beta, so I got access. So I've been using Dia, and Comet is much more agentic. Dia is much more trying to basically find the way how to do some smart stuff around web browsing as it is. Basically trying to find I would say like hacks. So for example, you're going somewhere, right?
Okay.
And the basic example is, you give the browser, find me location, everything, and then when you're looking for accommodation, you don't usually get the best results when you say to Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, find me accommodation ideas, right? Like in the end, what happens is you will open each of one of them, look at the pictures, look at the reviews yourself. So you will basically have, for example, 5 accommodations. So let's say you're now visiting Bratislava, right? So you were looking for accommodation. You would find 5 flats or houses, and you would open them in the browser in 5 tabs, right? And now, if you want to compare some of the stuff, you can say, browser, please compare. With one click, you can say these 5 tabs, and it would, for example, do a table, right? Based on the information, like flat number 1, number 2, number 3, how many rooms, is there Wi-Fi, is there parking, is the parking free, whatever, right? With Comet, this is not as easily possible. So it did not focus on this kind of stuff, but it does have much more, I would say, robust agentic capabilities. So for example, if you go to an eShop, right, and like a popular use case for chatbots nowadays is find me a coupon, right? Like find me a promotion coupon that would get like less money. So for example, Dia not great at this, Comet very good at this.
Okay, let me piggyback on the example which you mentioned. So you're searching for the book. And let's clarify for the audience. So when you actually use an AI browser and you, let's say, go to Amazon or whatever bookstore, online store you're using for books, now would it be using the navigation built in by the online shop itself to kind of go through the categories? Or would it scrape like a page and extract some metadata? What value added in like navigation and looking for the thing in the exploration part? Like I'm looking for something, would it give to you on top of the regular browser?
So on top of the regular browser, it actually, so I went to a section where there were books, and it kind of like it was paginated, right? Like there were pages, and it went through the pages, right? So it browsed through the pages. Yes.
Okay.
Not dissimilar from, for example, what a chatbot would do, but now I have it all in one place, right? So I don't need to take the URL, take it back to the chatbot, wait for the chatbot to do it, and it just like has the page ready, and kind of I feel like it's like faster tuned to do what it is supposed to do. Also, while I don't know what's your experience, but when I'm using a chatbot, I usually want to do maybe some analysis or some like deeper summary. So I always have it set on the highest possible, like the most, let's say, powerful model. And these models are usually not great or not fast when it comes to browsing and getting back information. And these browsers are using actually lesser models, so not the top leading models. So that's why they are like a bit faster, and it is just enough, I would say.
Okay, understood for the traditional browser part. Now, when you do the agentic part, so let's say Comet, what's the value added for you using this besides the fact that you would have a chance to give the browser your credentials and like act on your behalf? What else is there from agentic world that was useful, or you see in the videos were useful for the users of a Comet?
So I would say the useful thing was do something for me, fill in this form. You know what I need to buy to prepare this meal, do that. Write this email, send this email, etc. So like very, I would say, stuff that you could probably do with the agentic mode of like a chatbot, you know, which is like which takes over apps on your behalf. It is still slow, right? So it is still slow when it comes to do stuff on your behalf. It will do the stuff many times, right? It will do correctly the stuff, but it's almost like the best possible way I can describe this is when you have a robot vacuum cleaner and you're watching the robot vacuum cleaner go over and over the same places, it takes it so much more time to do stuff on your behalf than you would do if you would be vacuum cleaning yourself. But it does it for you, and you can do other stuff. It's just the notion when you buy a new vacuum cleaner, like we've all been there. like the first times it's going to clean up, you'll just be watching.
Yes.
So it's like basically you're wasting time.
Okay.
And but it's supposed to, save time for you. So the next time it's like less interesting, and you can do stuff. But like the first times you're just like watching it and you're just thinking, I can do this much faster.
All right, so I have a cheeky question for you. So imagine you're a product manager of this kind of AI browser. Now, what do you see the right to exist, like a niche or a space for the browser? Because I see it like a double cheeseburger in sense like from one side, the traditional browsers can probably do a lot of things with small AI plugins that the DIA can do. From the other side, you said that basically the things which now Comet and similar products are offering are the things which you can prompt or script agent to do anyway, giving them the kind of access to the traditional browser even. So what's the space for a product of an AI browser based on your experience and on the experience of the other people that you have seen?
Okay, so let me give you a couple of answers, right? So the investor answer, right? Like, should you invest in this? Like, would this be like
that's a good
product,
way to measure it?
Yeah, product category in itself? I would say no, because the default browsers that are out there are already preparing for this. We know Chrome is preparing for this. Even like the biggest players in the field, right? Like we know that OpenAI is preparing its own browser, which is dubbed Aura at the moment, I think, AURA. And there's also Opera, which has something going on.
Even Edge.
Even Edge has, Copilot built in, which is like... I always come back to Copilot just like to sidetrack this conversation, and it always just like fails on me.
It's omnipresent, but never making you happy.
Yeah, something like that. So just to come in and say, oh, we have a browser, and the ideas are not unique enough that someone wouldn't be able to copy them. Like you cannot really patent this. So from the investor point of view, I would say if you have an audience which you can say like, oh, like billion people are using ChatGPT, and you tell them like, oh, now like a better version of ChatGPT, if you're working a lot with different apps, email, etc., is our browser. You would probably get like a nice, like a couple 100 million people to be using your browser, and probably you can ask money for it, right? Like I see a business case. But if you're like a newcomer into this and you say like, oh, we have a browser, and either you're asking 200 per month, which is like,
would you?
No, at the moment I wouldn't pay for it. Like at the moment I would say, okay, it does not do stuff quickly and well enough for me to say, okay, this is worth the money. But I've already read some blogs that people say, oh, maybe it is for me. So I read like a couple of journalists who are doing research and writing a book, etc. So if you have like a particular case, or like if you're like off some, I would say like you really need to do a lot of research, maybe that's for you, and maybe the $200 are like enough.
That's the way I perceive it as well when I was looking at the videos and like trying to play around that. For the exploration part, where you don't know what you're looking for, but you need to find it relatively quickly, this might sound like a good use case because the AI is going to summarize and like extract for you the alternatives faster. But I would assume when you know exactly what you do, it's probably faster for you to click. Maybe it's even a muscle memory of your hands to click it through, rather than to give even a voice or textual prompt for the browser to put in. So
okay, I'm gonna jump in because Dia from the browser company has a really smart thing. It's such a smart thing. They call it skills, right? So you can pre-program prompt, right? And it sounds like, okay, but we can do, like, I can do it in a chatbot, right? Like I open a window, I have pre-programmed prompts, and I'll just paste or do what I do and it does it for me. But it is really different in the browser. So you can pre-program a prompt and add a shortcut, right? And the shortcut basically lives in your skills drawer, just above the chat. And it's almost like you can either type it, right? Like slash and the command, or you can like just, if you have a couple of them, which you're using, the frequent ones will be displayed as a button. So you can come to a web page and say, so for example, I made a skill, a prompt which said, if you're on the web page, take the content, do a summary of the content, like a bullet summary, and then give me insights, actionable takeaways, etc. Because I consume a lot of content, either like long articles, blogs, long videos on YouTube. So this was very useful for me, and I just keep typing it in like different stuff, and and so nowadays with Dia, I'll just come to a web page, or I open a YouTube video, I press insights, and it just gives me what I want.
Okay,
super useful.
All right, I want to put on the table one more thing before we kind of come to the conclusions here, because so far we talk about the user experience part of it. I want to talk a little bit about the AI part of it as well, because one thing which people don't realize, but if the essence of the AI browser is that you're literally using it as a like LLM behind the web browser, then I don't think so that even the builders of the application want to do it in a way that they want to do it as permanent activity. Because imagine every single step that you do would have to be analyzed by LLM. There would be like billions of tokens that you would have to burn yourself. Now, somebody has to pay for that. So a fair price of you having a internet browser, which has an AI LLM, watching all your steps, analyzing, would be probably tens of dollars a day. Right? So I'm not sure if anybody would be willing to have a product which is probably in high hundreds, maybe even thousands of the dollars per month to do that. So I'm really curious, and maybe if you have a hint for that, if you can help me to understand from the use cases that you either did yourself or you have seen using somebody else. So how are we going to go around that? Because if it's a really AI being engaged almost permanently, it's going to be too costly to be productive.
I mean, couple of examples come to mind, right? Like one is that we're all waiting for more lightweight models that will maybe not cost as much, but we find out that they can do maybe 90% of the stuff. And for the more advanced stuff, you would be plugging in the more advanced, top of the line models, which are pricier, and you can also ask the person, to pay up. But there will be like a certain kind of like there will be tiers, right? So you go with the basic tier, you pay less, but you also have less capacity, or you can get the same thing as Claude does, even if you're a subscriber and you hit the daily limit of your subscription.
But do you want to do it with a browser that you're all of a sudden limited to browse?
No. Well, I don't want to do, like, I hate it when it happens also in the chatbot, right? Like I don't think they have a good UI for that.
Yes.
Right? Like even if you look in the real world, like who has been, like what is a service that you need constantly use, and you're kind of very annoyed if it stops working? It's mobile internet, right? Yes. And the telecoms figured out a way, at least here in Europe, I don't know how it's elsewhere, but even if you hit your quota, they still give you basic internet.
Yes.
That, you can use. It's not the fast internet, but they don't don't cut you off completely.
Yeah.
But the complete cut off, it's like very off-putting.
Yes.
So you're right on that point.
Okay. So 2 more points. So in a world of the real web browsers, there were 2 hot topics ever since the browser started, and that is A, the commercials, the ads being served, and B, the privacy. And I'm boxing these two topics in a single package because they kind of come from the same corner or like do have something in common. So my understanding of a situation is that part of the strategy, especially for OpenAI and like big tech, let's say labs which do have their own model, the strategy is that you build in the ads directly into the product, so it's not avoidable. Yeah. Right, so it's kind of like unscrollable YouTube ads that you have to sit through, otherwise, like you will be not able to consume the content. So, what are your thoughts on this? Because we probably all know that significant part, somewhere up to 20% of the traffic, is using ad blocker, so preventing this kind of behavior in a regular browser. So that puts me in understanding that there is a significant part of the audience who would not appreciate this kind of setup where you can avoid it because they take efforts to block it on a regular browser, right? So what are your thoughts on this one? And maybe because you can't serve good ads without a privacy intrusion or like getting the data of your particular user in. So how do you go along these two topics and what do you think is the future of those in AI browser?
To be honest, I don't have a good answer for this. I mean, I haven't been really thinking about the ads. I've been thinking about the data and privacy implications of these AI browsers. If you think about how Microsoft was launching its Rewind feature for Windows a couple months back, and the backlash that they got that they will be doing screenshot and reading everything, storing everything, sending information to the cloud. And someone, someone was able to basically go through, or not go through, but like what was the one researcher I actually got some access, right? Like they said, oh no, it's encrypted, no one can get to it, and he said like, no, actually I could find a way, and it was like really a bad, like even until today, this feature is not fully launched. We've seen similar flop from ChatGPT, from OpenAI, right? Like the conversation that were set on public and share started appearing in Google search results. I mean, they fixed it pretty quickly, but who knows what got out? Like we don't know. We don't know, which is kind of scary. And now you're giving like an AI like your whole browser. Like if you think about like what kind of like sensitive data. So if we're thinking that in our chatbot we're like thinking, oh, no one will see this, I can be much more open, right? Like I had recently had a conversation with a psychotherapist who said, yeah, people feel like they're not shy because they're not talking to another person, so they are much more open. They spill much more secrets. At the same time, there was this conversation with Sam Altman. I don't know if you've seen it, but he said if there are any legal implications that you share with the chatbot, they can be used in a case.
Yes, in court.
In court, which again, like, let's put that information together, and now you have it like within the AI browser, which sees your emails, which sees your communication. Well, if you, I mean, let it. So it's tricky. So I was trying to be careful when using it, kind of like mindful of that, and at the same time, I would say it will be hard to trust like a small company with this. Like bigger companies, we give them like much bigger secrets. Like they know this data, and they will get like in much more trouble. If something happens, is my thinking, right? Like I'll be interested in what you think as well. But I'll just add on all the capabilities we see now. They can be added to the big browsers, right? Because there are just like features, right? Like the same way you see Apple Sherlocking different apps every year, the same thing will happen with the browsers. And actually, I think it's a good thing that these capabilities will get out there to more people, because it's really useful to have the AI that works nicely, like the skills in browsers that are available for more people.
Okay, David, so let me summarize what I heard from you so far about AI browsers, okay? So first, you said that it's getting a major product in a way that it's coming from like a free tiers to somebody already dares to collect fees and subscriptions for that. You also said that so far it has like two branches. It has a branch of more agentic appearance. It has a branch which is more, let's say, a traditional browser on steroids, so more accelerated, like going faster through things, or maybe doing some things in an exploration phase for you. You also said that you don't really believe so far that the niche or the space is mature enough for, let's say, like a large investment or large players jumping in. And we agree that it's probably we don't have a solution for the privacy and the ad part in it. And very often running browsers, especially for some companies, was like the essence of the costs of doing a business was collecting the money from the ads. So hearing all this, on a scale 0 to 10, where do you believe the future of the web browser is, given all the facts that we discussed today?
Yeah, that was another thing I had written down, like where do we see the open web or all of this in it? And yeah, it's getting much more closed when you think about it. But just to answer your question, is I think we will get these use cases in the browsers we have nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it's just like some mid step. So it's not like, oh, this is the end point, right? Like, so we had the chatbots, now we have the AI browsers, and I'm still waiting for like a real AI assistant, which there's no need to have any kind of display, for example, and it just like lives, everywhere around.
Well, you asked for my opinion, so let me close our discussion on this one with being a little bit more daring with kind of predictions of what comes here. I'm not shy of trying to look into the future and like stating what I believe is going to happen. So listening to you and trying to kind of also understand the AI part behind it, which I alluded to, I think that the AI browsers will be probably eaten by agentic layers, because it's easier to program it specifically for even very specific or generic use cases by the code than by the prompt itself. That's first thing. And a second thing which I expect to happen here is that I don't believe that this is an industry which is going to thrive too much, because the only way for this to be cost sustainable is that you would be running an LLM on your own device and using the power of the LLM. I don't believe there is a cost sensible way to do it from the cloud, because like running it on the cloud already gets automatically expensive, and also the traffic back and forth would be enormous, and also the latency of the kind of communication would be there. So if web browsers survive the way, I would rather bet on that the big browser, the big original traditional browsers, have a plugins of your own models running on your local device and giving you the AI functionality rather than you consuming this from the cloud. But if that happens, well, then it's going to be a little bit model agnostic. So I think we probably might end up with plugins or AI plugins into the traditional browsers rather than like AI browsers as self-standing products. That's the way I see it for the time being. Maybe I'm too conservative on this one, but like all the underlying implications and AI sense behind it brings me to this perception or this expectation for the future of it.
I'll add one thing. When now I was listening to one, I would say way out of for these startups might be they get acquired, which might happen because we've seen from big tech companies such as Apple on recent earnings say they're open to AI acquisitions, which it's a big thing. We'll see.
Yeah, but if that's the case, then OpenAI is betting on a wrong card.
Well, I mean, they're betting they'll be doing it themselves in-house, right?
Yes, but if the end state would be as I kind of was trying to explain, that you have a traditional browser with the plugins. Well, OpenAI is not offering a plugin. They are trying to do a complete product themselves. So that would mean that they might kind of hit the competition wall there.
I mean, they can still pivot, right?
They can. They often do.
They often do. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's for me. I suppose for a couple of months this will be interesting. But I can already see that, as you said, there are hints that there is something else coming, and this is just like
topic of a year.
Yeah. Just like seasonal, right? Like a summer topic for us to discuss.
Cool.
Okay, that's all for this episode. Thank you, Philip. You've been listening to the Mindset podcast. That's Mindset spelled with AI. You can find us in your favorite podcast app, on YouTube, and follow us on LinkedIn. And if you want to vote for the next topic, go to our website, mindsetpodcast.com. That's Mindset with AI. Thank you, and bye.
Yes, it was great.